please welcome the Senior Program Lead for the Sustainability Initiative at Autodesk, Dr. Emma Stewart.
I'd like to thank our hosts and longtime collaborators, USGBC, and welcome you, Generation Green. Speaking of generations, I started out as a geneticist, and if you were to trace your DNA back 1,000 years, you'd find you are made up of roughly equal genetic contributions of millions of ancestors. The odds against all of these genes surviving to eventually produce you were immense. But many of these genes helped your ancestors act selfishly to survive, and they live on in your instincts to protect yourself and your children. In other words, every one of you is an evolutionary experiment that succeeded in the laboratory of Earth. Congratulations. Yet, when we examine these selfish genes at a larger scale, we begin to see worrying consequences. Dr. Jared Diamond shows that the most successful early hominids exhibited two main patterns: highly efficient genocide and natural resource destruction. As human populations grew, so did the incidence of these patterns, to the point where now they're so common they sometimes don't make the news. Rapid industrialization and mass consumption have driven natural resource destruction to the point where we are effectively conducting an uncontrolled experiment on the ecological services that helped us flourish as a species, quietly unplugging our life support systems one by one. The end result of all this is that we are the first generation to face the prospect of delivering to our heirs a planet no longer capable of supporting human life. Fortunately, we are not simply the sum of our genetic parts. Harvard biologist E.O. Wilson points out that roughly 10,000 years ago, when agriculture allowed us to settle, culture took over as the driving force for humankind's evolution. This led to three uniquely human developments: urbanization, intellectual property, and technology. First, urbanization. Settled civilizations enhanced quality of life and decreased the need for manual laborers, or they were known as children at the time. Now, the majority of us live in cities. Birth rates are slowing to the point where in our lifetimes, global human population is expected to plateau, making less elusive the goal of sustainable consumption. Second, intellectual property. This idea rewards an individual, and by extension, his or her selfish genes, for developing something that improves the life of others. It's likely no coincidence that the steam engine, which helped launch the Industrial Revolution, was developed where intellectual property was protected by law. Third and last, technology. Settled civilization took fuller advantage of our species' unique capacity to learn from one another, leading eventually to clusters of innovators, like in Silicon Valley. It's from clusters like these that we gain the technological tools that will help reverse the ecological decline. For example, have you ever been frustrated with a client's instinct to reduce first costs at all costs, rather than take a whole systems view? It's understandable. Our brains actually struggle with complex problems, and they try to simplify them down into their component parts. But the good news is, now we don't need to rewire our brains. The cloud is redefining knowledge from what information an individual knows to what information an individual can access. Take, for example, the incredible amount of data and compute power in the cloud that makes building performance analysis faster and more available. Ever been frustrated with navigating the vast sea of information on toxics in building products? Technology can make this not only more easily searchable, but also draw in disciplines that you typically wouldn't. Take, for example, the Biomimicry Institute's online database, where architects and engineers can search the biological literature for nature's tried and tested solutions to today's design challenges. So, by harnessing these three uniquely human developments, urbanization, intellectual property, and technology, you will shape the next phase of human evolution. In essence, you, Generation Green, have the long-term survival of the species in your hands. Thank you.